The most dangerous people are not the ones who hate you. They're the ones who understand you too well. They are the ones who have mapped the contours of your mind because you handed them the map. You gave them the keys to the fortress. You told them your fears, your desires, your weaknesses and your past, all under the guise of a virtue society calls honesty. You have been lied to. From the moment you could speak, you were indoctrinated with a single, fragile premise that the truth will set you free. That transparency is the highest form of intimacy. That if you just lay your cards on the table, the world will treat you with fairness. Look around you. Look at the people who hold power. Look at the CEOs, the generals, the seducers, the kings of history. Do they tell you everything? Do they wear their hearts on their sleeves? Or do they exist in a fog of strategic ambiguity? The brutal reality of human nature is that we do not respect what is easily understood. We do not fear what we can predict. And we do not follow those who have no mystery. When you are radically honest, you are not being virtuous. You are making yourself a commodity. You are lowering your value in the marketplace of social dynamics. Today, we are going to dissect the corpse of radical honesty. We are going to look at why your transparency is the reason you are overlooked for promotions, why you are taken for granted in relationships, and why you feel powerless in negotiations. We are going to apply the lens of dark psychology to understand why silence is not just golden. It is a weapon. This is not a lecture for the faint of heart. If you prefer the comforting lies of polite society, leave now. But if you are ready to see the machinery behind human interaction, if you are ready to reclaim your power, then listen closely. If this insight has already sparked a realization in you, hit the like button. Let the algorithm know you are not afraid of the dark. Let us begin. To understand why honesty kills respect, we must first understand the fundamental currency of human interaction: information. Information is power. This is not a cliché. It is a law of physics in the social realm. When two people interact, a transaction is taking place. You are trading cues, status signals, and data. When you offer total honesty, when you reveal your intentions, your insecurities, and your complete thought process, you are creating what economists call an information asymmetry. But you are creating it in the wrong direction. You are giving the other person 100% of the data, while they may only be giving you 20%. In game theory, this is a losing strategy. It is the equivalent of playing poker with your cards facing out. You might think you are building trust. You might think you are building rapport, but the primal brain of the person across from you sees something else. They see a lack of self-preservation. Deep down, in the reptilian brain that governs our instincts for dominance and hierarchy, we associate restraint with strength. Think of a predator. A lion does not roar constantly. It moves in silence. It strikes from the grass. Its power lies in the fact that you do not know when it will move. Now think of a small, nervous dog. It barks at everything. It reveals its position constantly. It wears its emotions on the surface because it is afraid. When you are too honest, when you overshare, you are signaling anxiety. You are signaling a desperate need for external validation. You are saying, please understand me, please accept me, look at how harmless I am. Authority is never harmless. Authority is capable of harm but chooses restraint. There is a psychological concept known as the predictability trap. Humans are pattern-seeking machines. We crave patterns because patterns allow us to predict the future, and predicting the future keeps us safe. When you are totally honest, you become 100% predictable. And here is the dark truth: we get bored with things we can predict. Think about a movie. If the main character walks into a room and announces exactly what they are going to do, and then they do it, and there are no twists, no secrets, no subtext, you turn the movie off. It has no value. Now apply this to your workplace. You are the employee who always says exactly what they are thinking. You tell your boss your exact weekend plans. You confess when you are feeling unsure about a project. You admit your mistakes before anyone even notices them. You think you are being a good employee, but your boss looks at you and sees a known quantity. You have no leverage. They know you won't leave because you told them you love the job. They know you won't ask for a raise because you told them you're just grateful to be there. You have become furniture. Reliable, yes. Respected? No. Fear implies respect, and no one fears the furniture. Let that sink in. Drop a brain emoji in the comments if you are realizing that you have been playing the game with your cards face up. Let us look to history. History is the laboratory of human nature. It is where theories are tested in blood and gold. Consider Louis XIV of France, the Sun King. He was the absolute monarch, a man who held a court of vicious, ambitious nobles in the palm of his hand for decades. How did he do it? Was it through radical honesty? Did he hold town halls where he shared his feelings? No. Louis XIV mastered the art of silence. When his ministers would come to him with urgent problems, presenting arguments, pleading for decisions, trying to manipulate him with their words, Louis would listen. He would watch them with an unreadable face. And at the end of their passionate speeches, he would say only 3 words: "I shall see. Je verrai." That is it. He would not say yes. He would not say no. He would not explain his reasoning. He withheld the resolution. This terrified his court. Because they did not know where he stood, they had to project their own fears onto him. They had to work harder to please him. They spent hours analyzing his 3 words. His silence made him a giant. If he had argued with them, if he had explained his logic, he would have brought himself down to their level. He would have entered a debate. Kings do not debate. Kings decide. When you explain yourself, when you give the honest reason for your actions, you are submitting your actions to the judgment of others. You are asking for permission. I can't come to the party because I'm tired and I have a headache. That is an explanation. It invites a counter-argument. Oh, just come for an hour. I will not be attending. That is a decision. It is final. It commands respect because it requires no validation. Napoleon Bonaparte, a man who rose from nothing to conquer the world, understood this. He said, "You must learn to be silent as you must learn to talk." Napoleon controlled information like he controlled artillery. He knew that if the enemy, or his own troops, knew his true state of mind, his true fears, his true plans, he would be finished. He cultivated a myth. He let people believe what they needed to believe to follow him. To be Machiavellian is not necessarily to be evil. It is to be effective. Niccolo Machiavelli himself wrote that a prince must be a great simulator and dissimulator. To simulate is to pretend to have what you do not have. To dissimulate is to hide what you do have. When you are too honest, you fail at both. You reveal your lack of resources and you expose your surplus. You make yourself a target for envy and a victim for exploitation. Think of the person in your life who you respect the most. Do you know everything about them? Or is there a distance, a reserve? That distance is necessary for respect. Familiarity breeds contempt. This is an ancient proverb for a reason. Radical honesty creates instant familiarity. It collapses the distance between you and the other person. And when that distance collapses or vanishes, you cannot be in awe of someone who has just told you about their bowel movements, their childhood trauma, and their financial anxieties in the first 15 minutes of meeting them. Let's bring this into the modern day. Let's talk about the dating market. This is where the curse of honesty claims the most victims. We have all seen the nice guy or the nice girl. They believe that if they just confess their feelings, if they just pour out their heart, they will be rewarded with love. They text back instantly. They say, "I really like you. I've never felt this way before." They answer every question directly. They are an open book, and they get crushed. Why? Because seduction requires tension. Seduction is a dance of shadow and light. It requires curiosity. If I know exactly how you feel about me, if I know I have you in my pocket, the tension is gone. The chase is over before it began. Dark psychology teaches us about the concept of intermittent reinforcement. This is the most powerful way to condition a behavior. It is how slot machines work. You pull the lever, and you don't know if you will win. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. The unpredictability keeps you hooked. The honest person is a vending machine. You put the coin in, you get the soda. Every time, it is reliable, but it is not exciting. You do not obsess over a vending machine. You obsess over a slot machine. When you are strategically ambiguous, when you do not reveal your total interest immediately, you become the slot machine. You make the other person wonder. Do they like me? What are they thinking? That wondering is where attraction grows. It is in the space of the unknown that the other person's imagination starts to work, and their imagination will paint a picture of you that is far more compelling than your brutal honesty ever could. This applies to business negotiations just as ruthlessly. Imagine you are selling a car. You are honest. You say, "To be honest, I really need to sell this car today because I can't make rent. The transmission is a little sticky in third gear. and I'm desperate. You have just transferred all your power to the buyer. They will destroy you on the price. They don't respect your honesty. They smell your blood. Now imagine the Machiavellian seller. He says, "It's a solid machine. I'm in no rush to sell. I have a few other interested parties coming later this afternoon. Take a look, let me know what you think." He hasn't lied. The car is a machine. He is letting you look, but he has withheld the information about his desperation. He has framed the interaction as if he is the prize, not the supplicant. He gets the sale. He gets the respect. If you are learning something new about yourself right now, subscribe. Because the next lesson will make you rethink everything you believe about your own morality. There is a modern disease called vulnerability hangovers. It is that feeling you get after you have shared too much with a colleague or a stranger, and the next day you feel a knot of shame in your stomach. That knot is your survival instinct talking to you. It is your psyche screaming, "You gave away too much armor." Society tells you that vulnerability is strength. And in the right context, with a trusted partner, after years of vetting, perhaps it is. But indiscriminate vulnerability is not strength. It is emotional incontinence. When you share your traumas, your weaknesses, and your failures with people who have not earned the right to hear them, you are not building connection. You are burdening them. Or worse, you are handing them ammunition. The law of power number 3080, think as you like but behave like others. And law number 30, conceal your intentions. When you tell a coworker about your dislike for the boss, you think you are bonding. You are being honest. But 6 months later, when that coworker is competing with you for a promotion, that honest moment becomes the knife in your back. They will use your words against you. And they won't feel bad about it, because by oversharing, you signaled that you were weak. And in the laws of the jungle, the weak are food. You must understand that people do not want your truth. They want your competence. They want your strength. They want your utility. When a leader stands before his troops, they do not want to hear, "Honestly, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm terrified we are all going to die." That is the truth. But it is a truth that destroys the group. They want to hear, "We have a plan. We will win." Even if it is a lie, it is a lie that serves the survival of the tribe. This is where we get into the uncomfortable morality of dark psychology. Is it moral to conceal the truth? Ask yourself, is it moral to burden a child with the financial fears of the parent? No, the parent conceals the truth to protect the child. You must learn to view your peers, your employees, and sometimes even your partners with that same protective filter. You are not lying to deceive them for evil. You are curating reality to maintain order. You are filtering the chaos of your internal world so that you can present a structured, capable external world. That is what people respect. They respect the ability to contain oneself. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome, wrote extensively about the need to keep one's internal struggle internal. Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present. He did not say, complain to everyone about the future. Restraint is the ultimate sign of status. The person who reacts to everything, who feels the need to correct every falsehood, who needs to set the record straight constantly, is a person who is controlled by their environment. The person who can listen to a lie and not flinch, who can hold a secret and not burst, who can feel pain and not show it. That person is the master of their environment. So, how do we apply this? How do we stop the hemorrhage of truth? You must adopt the practice of strategic ambiguity. This does not mean you become a pathological liar. Lying requires too much cognitive energy. Lying creates complex webs that trap you. We are not talking about falsehood. We are talking about curation. Strategic ambiguity means you say less than necessary. It means you become comfortable with pauses. When someone asks you a question that is intrusive, you do not owe them an answer. Try this tactic, the mirror and silence. When someone asks, "How much money do you make?" or "Why are you single?" the honest person stutters and gives a number or an excuse. The psycho-smart person looks them in the eye, pauses for 3 seconds, and says, "That is an interesting question to ask." And then, silence. You mirror their rudeness back to them, but you give them no data. You let the silence do the work. They will crumble. They will start to explain themselves. "Oh, I was just curious." You have maintained your status. You have protected your fortress. Strategic ambiguity means you cultivate a reputation for being unpredictable. If you are always the nice guy, people will bank on your niceness. They will budget for it. They will spend it before you even offer it. But if you are capable of being nice, but also capable of being cold, if you are capable of being generous, but also capable of walking away, now your niceness has value. Scarcity creates value. If you give your truth away for free to everyone, it is worth nothing. If you reserve your truth, if you make people earn it, it becomes a diamond. But knowing why you shouldn't be honest is only the first step. The real danger lies in what happens when you try to change. Because when you stop feeding people your truth, they will get angry. They will try to pry you open. They will use guilt. They will use shaming. They will use your own past against you. In the next section, we are going to explore the specific manipulation tactics people will use to break your silence and how to deflect them without saying a word. We are going to look at the concept of the grey rock method and how to become uninteresting to predators while becoming fascinating to allies. You have been the open book. It is time to close the cover. It is time to write the story in a language only you can read. If you are still here, it means you have accepted the first hard truth. Your radical honesty was never a virtue, it was a vulnerability. You have begun the process of closing the gates. You are practicing strategic ambiguity. You are learning to withhold the why and simply deliver the what. But now you are facing a new problem, a dangerous problem. When you change the rules of engagement, the people around you will not applaud. They will not respect your new boundaries immediately. They will revolt. In behavioral psychology, this is known as an extinction burst. Think of a rat in a lab. It presses a button and it gets a pellet of food. It presses the button again and it gets another pellet. This is conditioning. Now imagine the scientists turn the machine off. The rat presses the button, but no food comes out. Does the rat simply shrug and walk away? No, the rat presses the button harder. It presses it faster. It bites the button. It screeches. It throws a tantrum. It expends massive amounts of energy trying to force the old system to work one last time. When you stop feeding people your truth, you are turning off the pellet machine, and the people in your life, your boss, your partner, your friends, will undergo an extinction burst. They will escalate their tactics to force you back into the box of the predictable nice guy. They will not ask you nicely to open up. They will use the dark arts of manipulation to pry you open. You need to know exactly what this looks like so you do not crumble when the pressure hits. The most common weapon they will use is the guilt trip. As we have seen in the study of manipulation, guilt is a powerful tool to exert control because it targets your desire to be a good person. They will say things like, "I thought we were friends," or "I thought I could count on you," or "You've changed, you're so distant now." Do not be fooled. This is not an expression of hurt feelings. It is a tactical deployment of shame. By framing your silence as a betrayal, they are attempting to make you feel responsible for their emotions. They want you to apologize. And how does an honest person apologize? By over-explaining, by spilling their guts, by handing over the information they were withholding just to relieve the tension. If you explain yourself now, you lose. You reinforce the idea that your boundaries are negotiable if they just apply enough guilt. So, how do you handle the extinction burst? You use a technique called the broken record. When they accuse you of being distant, you do not defend yourself. You do not say, "I'm not being distant, I'm just trying to be more professional because I read a book on dark psychology." That is weak. That is seeking validation. Instead, you validate their feeling without accepting the premise. You say, "I'm sorry you feel that way." That is it. They say, "You never tell me anything anymore." You say, "I'm sorry you feel that way." They say, "Are you mad at me? Why are you being so weird?" You say, "I've just been busy." "I'm sorry you feel that way." This phrase is devastating to a manipulator because it is a non-answer. It acknowledges their distress but refuses to solve it. It forces them to sit with their own emotions. It is a mirror. By refusing to engage in the drama, by refusing to explain your silence, you are signaling that you are no longer a source of supply. Eventually, the rat stops pressing the button. Eventually, the people around you will realize that the old codes do not work. And in that silence, a new dynamic is born: respect. But what about the predators you cannot cut off? What about the narcissistic boss, the toxic family member, or the co-parent you must interact with? You cannot always use the broken record. Sometimes you need to disappear while standing right in front of them. This brings us to one of the most effective defensive strategies in the arsenal of dark psychology. The grey rock method. Imagine you are walking through a forest filled with predators. If you wear bright colors, if you make noise, if you run, you trigger their chase instinct. But if you are a grey rock sitting on the ground, the predator ignores you. You offer no sustenance. You offer no entertainment. Manipulators and narcissists are addicted to emotional reaction. They feed on narcissistic supply, which can be your adoration, your anger, your fear, or your tears. They do not care which one it is, as long as it is intense. When you are too honest, you are a buffet of emotional supply. You tell them when you are hurt, which makes them feel powerful. You tell them when you are happy, which makes them feel envious. To become the grey rock, you must become psychologically boring. You must become uninteresting. This does not mean you ignore them. Ignoring a narcissist often triggers rage, known as a narcissistic injury. Instead, you engage, but you strip your engagement of all emotional content. You answer questions with facts, not feelings. You stick to the mundane. If a toxic coworker tries to bait you into gossip or tries to get a rise out of you by insulting your work, the honest person would defend themselves. They would say, "That's not fair, I worked hard on this." The honest person has just given the manipulator exactly what they wanted, a reaction. The grey rock replies, "I see. I will take that under advisement." No anger, no sadness, no defense, just a bland, neutral acknowledgement. You are withholding the fuel they run on. This creates a psychological vacuum. Humans, particularly manipulative ones, hate boredom. If they cannot get a reaction out of you, they will eventually move on to a softer target. They will look for someone who bleeds when cut. You must simulate stone. This applies heavily to negotiation. In a high-stakes negotiation, if you react emotionally to an offer, if you show excitement or offense, you have tipped your hand. You have shown the other side your pressure points. The grey rock negotiator hears a lowball offer and does not flinch. They do not get offended. They simply look at the offer, look at the other person, and say nothing. Or they ask a boring, logistical question. How did you arrive at that number? By flattening your effect, you force the other side to project their own anxieties onto you. They start to wonder, why isn't he reacting? Does he know something I don't? Is he about to walk away? Your lack of honesty, your refusal to honestly display your shock or anger, becomes a source of immense tactical pressure. If you are following this, drop the word SMART in the comments. Let me know you are becoming the rock. Now, I can hear the objection forming in your mind. But Professor, you ask, if I am always silent, if I am always a grey rock, won't people think I am a robot? Won't I lose the ability to connect with anyone? This is a valid concern. We are not trying to turn you into a sociopath. We are trying to turn you into a strategist. And a master strategist knows that sometimes you must reveal a weakness. But you do not do it because you have a compulsion to be honest. You do it because it serves a purpose. This is the concept of selective vulnerability, also known in social psychology as the pratfall effect. The pratfall effect suggests that if a person is perceived as highly competent, committing a small, clumsy mistake will actually increase their likability. It humanizes them. It makes them relatable without undermining their status. However, and this is the critical distinction, if a person is perceived as average or incompetent, making a mistake makes them less likable. The honest person reveals their flaws indiscriminately. They reveal the big, ugly, structural flaws that make people question their competence. I'm really bad with money, or I always choke under pressure. The strategist reveals curated flaws. These are flaws that are harmless or even endearing, designed to lower the other person's guard. Napoleon utilized this. He would walk among his troops and pinch their ears or make crude jokes. He allowed them to see him as the little corporal. He let them feel a moment of intimacy, a moment of use just like us. But he never revealed his grand strategy or his deepest fears to them. He used a small, calculated vulnerability to buy their loyalty, which he then spent on the battlefield. In a job interview, when they ask, "What is your greatest weakness?" the honest person says, "I procrastinate," or "I have trouble with authority." You have just disqualified yourself. The strategist uses the pratfall effect. You admit to a flaw that is actually a strength in disguise, or a flaw that is irrelevant to the job but makes you seem honest. I can be a bit too obsessive about formatting spreadsheets. Or I have a terrible singing voice, so please don't make me do karaoke at the Christmas party. You are feeding the beast a small pellet. You are giving them the feeling of honesty without giving them the ammunition to destroy you. You are creating the illusion of intimacy. This is how you build rapport without sacrificing power. You trade a pawn to save the king. You give them a small truth to hide the big lie. Think of the Columbo method, named after the TV detective. He would act confused, disorganized, forgetting his pen, wearing a rumpled raincoat. He made the suspects feel superior. He made them feel safe. They looked at his honesty, his apparent incompetence, and they lowered their shields. And that is when he struck. By curating your vulnerability, you control the narrative. You decide what people laugh at. You decide what they forgive. You are not a victim of your flaws. You are the manager of them. We have discussed silence. We have discussed emotional neutrality. Now we must discuss the ultimate form of dishonesty: absence. The economic law of supply and demand applies to your social presence just as it applies to gold or diamonds. The more there is of you, the less you are worth. The honest person is always available. They answer the phone on the first ring. They reply to texts instantly. They are always at the party. They are an open book that is always on the shelf, free to read. And because they are always available, they are taken for granted. Dark psychology teaches us that humans desire what they cannot have. We obsess over the things that are scarce. Scarcity generates anxiety, and anxiety generates desire. When you are always present, when you are always transparent, you remove the anxiety of loss. The people in your life know you aren't going anywhere. They know exactly where you stand, so they stop trying to impress you. They stop trying to earn your attention. To increase your value, you must use the law of absence. You must learn to withdraw. This does not mean you ghost people. That is immature. It means you are not always accessible. You create periods of non-contact. You create mystery about your whereabouts. When you are asked, "What did you do this weekend?" the honest person gives an itinerary. "I did laundry, watched Netflix, and slept." The strategist says, "I had some business to attend to. It was quite interesting." Notice the difference. The second answer is not a lie, but it creates a gap. What business? Why was it interesting? The other person's mind rushes to fill in the gap. They imagine you doing something important, something exciting. You have become larger in their mind than you are in reality. In the workplace, the law of absence is power. If you are always at your desk, always available for every meeting, always replying to emails at midnight, you are a commodity. You are a tool. But if you are sometimes hard to reach, if you are in deep work, if you decline meetings because you have prior commitments, suddenly your time is viewed as valuable. When you do show up, people pay attention. Your presence becomes a reward, not a default setting. You must understand that people do not value what is free. They value what they have to pay for. And the price they must pay for your respect is their effort. If you give them your truth, your time, and your attention for free, you are signaling that you have no self-worth. You must force them to speculate. You must force them to wonder. In that state of wondering, they are thinking about you. And the more they think about you, the more psychological real estate you occupy in their minds. You are planting a seed of obsession. And you are doing it simply by shutting your mouth and stepping back into the shadows. At this point, you might be feeling a tension in your chest, a voice asking, "Is this right? Is this moral? Shouldn't I just be myself?" Let me ask you a question. Is it moral to be a victim? Is it moral to let people walk over you because you refuse to understand the rules of the game? There is a difference between malicious manipulation and defensive strategy. Malicious manipulation is lying to harm others for your gain. It is the con artist, the psychopath. Defensive strategy is controlling information to protect yourself from harm. It is the shield, not the sword. When you use strategic ambiguity, when you use the grey rock method, when you use the law of absence, you are not hurting anyone. You are simply demanding that people earn the right to access your inner world. You are treating your soul like the sanctuary it is, not like a public park. Society wants you to be honest because honest people are easy to govern. Honest people are easy to sell things to. Honest people are easy to exploit. Reclaiming your privacy, reclaiming your mystery, is an act of rebellion. It is an act of self-respect. As we move into the final section of this masterclass, we are going to look at the ultimate application of these principles, the art of negotiation and seduction. We will see how the master manipulators, the Casanovas, the diplomats, the corporate sharks, use the illusion of honesty to trap their opponents. We will learn how to fake sincerity so effectively that even the most skeptical observer will be fooled. Because remember, the most convincing liars are the ones who tell the truth 90% of the time, so that the 10% that matters slides by unnoticed.